Okay, hello YouTube. Want to talk today about getting worked up uh, for a boxing tournament. Some people need to get worked up uh, for medium to hard sparring. Uh, but before a fight, you got to get worked up. Um, I want to talk about that for a minute. Uh, a lot of guys have trouble getting to that inner self and getting worked up. A lot of you call it anger. I call it anger as well. Uh, and there's several ways to get it. There's several ways to uh, implement it. And there's some boxers and fighters that never use it. Uh, Typically, older boxers that are uh, fighting in the amateurs and these masters tournaments that they have now. I'm not sure the ages on that. I don't watch much of it, but I watch some of it. But these guys will get in there and they'll rock away and don't even get angry and shake hands and it's just a sporting competition for them. But I'm here to tell you if you're going to compete, you're going to compete at a high level in the amateurs or the pros, you got to be able to get yourself worked up. You don't want to buddy with your opponent. A lot of the pre-fight stuff you see, yeah, it's for fight hype. Uh, Not all the time. And I'll tell you when it's not. Uh, you got guys that do fight hype that you can really tell they're not angry with one another, and they get in the ring and it shows. It shows you don't get that good of a fight, and it's just the psychology of it. Then you got two guys they'll be hyped up, and they're artificially through these pre-fight shows that they have intentionally stabbing and poking at one another to get reactions. And the fighter that is typically the most insultive to another guy, he himself is looking for responses back from the other fighter to get himself worked up. There's just a lot of psychology to it. It's not rocket psychiatry, it's elementary psychiatry. Uh, and most of the most boisterous ones, they have the hardest time getting themselves worked up. I was never told to do anything like that, nor have I told anyone else to do anything like that. We look a different direction. We look and listen to me. This is paramount and critical to the utmost if you are going to get in the fighting game and be highly competitive in the amateurs or the professionals. You've got to get yourself worked up, and but it's got to be controlled. In other words, you can't go in there acting like a maniac. Uh, and some do, and some win that way, but eventually you'll get hung up. But you've got to find the place to go in your head that is going to anger you. And some people, it's like, I imagine this other fella that he's kicked my dog or that he's hurting my cat, threw my cat off a 5-story building or something. This is the thing. Some people, they've got a dead relative and they imagine the other person has hurt the relative that they long for and they miss and they fervently love with all their heart. And they imagine offenses from this other guy occurring to uh, their loved one. I mean, and from one end to the other end, there's many ways. There's a lot of guys, and these typically tend to uh, be the better, can go into, and I don't know this factually. This is just conjecture. This is just knowing a lot that big fans of Roberto Duran would have. From watching Roberto Duran in the early, mid, late 70s and then through the 80s, um, and maybe into the 90s. I can't remember, but uh, he would really go in there to try to take somebody's head off, to try to kill somebody, and it made him that much greater. And we need not forget he was the smallest of the big four. But he competed damn good with that big four now, didn't he? And yes, sir, he did. And he would get, now this is some conjecture with many things I've heard and things that I've heard Duran say, but I don't know this to be factual. But this is my 98% surety of it. He fell into a category where you get proper. Now he wouldn't say this. He'd call you every name in the book and whatnot, but he would get a righteous indignation about the world, about this that was going on that was bad, about that was going on that was bad, what was happening to people, what maybe had happened to him during his growing up or his mother, and there's a whole host of different things, evilness of this world. And he would project that to the opponent. And but at any rate, you got to find something. Uh, I'm seeing guys too quick today to run hug the other guy when it's said and done. Uh, you're not getting the you're not getting to the proper place as a gladiator of combat sport if you can just cut that switch off at the last bell. Uh, you're just not. And that's a big problem today. A big problem today. These fighters, you and me, we get good pre-show things, and we think everybody's riled up, and uh, this fight going on with this pre-fight stuff with Nigel Ben's son and the other gentleman's son. I can't think of his name. And one of them slaps the heck out of the other guy. I think there's a lot of put on in that, but there's a lot of dislike. But I think the perpetrator of the slap was looking for the reaction from the other guy to hype him up and fill him up with that anger that he will need to carry into the ring with him. And so there's a lot of psychology to this, but I'll leave you at this because I ramble and ramble. You got to find somewhere to go in your head. And you got to get to that place to rile you up enough to get in that ring with the want to destroy that other fella. And if you don't have that, you're not going to get there. So these are two big things. I got Rocky in the background crying here, our German Shepherd. These are two big things that I see a lot of lacking in the groups that are coming up and groups that are there. They're there now. And you got to get to the proper place where you can get the anger and harness it correctly but use it effectively. And you've got to use fear too. Fear will keep you from getting hit. There's a lot of psychology to this, so I want to tell people, you ain't listening to me. Go out here and investigate for yourself and hear what p- people say. And everything I'm telling you will be verified. May be a little modified, but it'll be verified because people have different ways. But two big things that are lacking today is healthy fear that will help you win. Three things: healthy anger that will help you win, and strength. Uh, it's beyond me how people can humble on one another and be in a gentleman's agreement to go in and fight, then back off at the same time, go in and fight, hold, back off at the same time, and so on and so forth. And there's got to be an agreement between two fellas to be fighting like that. Uh, one's doing one thing and one's doing the other, but they're both agreeing to it. And so there's a lot of psychology to this sport, so you need to get into the psychology of it as well. Uh, and you you need to be doing everything possible to monumentally increase your punching power. You just got to do it. And I'll use case in point Ryan Garcia. He was boom coming out with that left and to the midsection or to the chin or the side of the head, and he was laying a lot of guys out. And then as the competition started getting better, started being a little bit different, he's welling out and hitting these uh, people on up the rungs of the ladder, and they ain't going down. It's because that boy's punch is not that hard after all. And hope he works on his punching power as well, because uh, he's not going to win a world title belt, a sanctioned world belt, world title belt, uh, unless he does so. Great case in point on the hell knocker end of it is Tank Davis. He gets himself to that place. He gets in the ring, controls it, has a healthy fear, which helps him uh, stay out of harm's way in the ring, and has the power to use with that place where he goes when he does get in the ring to perform all three aforementioned things really, really great. So get to work on those things. I can't sit here. I mean, it would take me 3 hours. It would take me 3 years or 3 months to work with a fella to get the gist of all of these things because number one, people are different. And this guy over here, you may have to approach a different way than this guy over here uh, for who they are inwardly and how they think and things of that nature. So get to work on the psychology of the sport as well. We try to put a lot of stuff out. Uh, what we've been putting out lately is just really Joe Welling on bags and doing some exercises as a strength, as a we see something that's needs to be addressed with a guy over here or a guy over here. Sometimes we show some things that may be able to help this guy or this guy out, but other than that, we ain't showing much. That's another thing that needs to be addressed in boxing. You don't want to get online and then show everything that you do, uh, and then turn professional where they've got everything that they can to look at about you. See, so you don't want to do that. Uh, you don't want to do that. The other guy can put the bouts that you have up. Uh, he can go there, do that, free to do. A lot of people have some videos up with even Joe. That's beyond my control. I can't control that. But what I can control is when you go to look him up, there'll come a day when the bust out comes, you'll be able to plug his name in there and you'll see things that he's done that we don't show. But you'll be able to see it because somebody else has videoed it. Uh, you keep things close to the vest. Boxing is a very private sport. The gym is no place to be socializing, and of course you got it's your stable. It's never your team, but it's your stable of guys that just as quick as a blink of an eye, a year or two's down the road, and y'all have parted ways, and then you got to fight that guy, you know. So and typically you're gonna hoard around people that are closer to your weight class anyway. So there's hundreds of things you got to think about and be abreast of. And we've made a lot of mistakes, and we've learned off them, and we want you to learn off of them too. Back in the 70s and into the 80s, when I was doing collegiate training in boxing uh, and training other people, uh, you I learned more and I learned off of other guys' mistakes as well. And I was fortunate early on to be able to work around some people. Ace Miller, for example. And I wasn't working around him daily, but he would come. They would come to Charlotte from Knoxville quite frequently. And when Ace would come in, he'd run the show, and it wasn't his gym, but we all knew he was the man. And we got to learn a lot of the psychology from things that really messed up Big John Tate and uh, him losing the WBA World's Heavyweight Championship and never being able to come back from that. And learn things like the last thing you want to do is if you lose to a slugger is get in the ring with another slugger. There needs to be some build up there. I believe Anthony Joshua has been mishandled in similar ways, not the same ways, but similar ways. And nobody's looking at these types of things, or at least I'm not hearing about that. So things we put out, we don't show much. I typically will video if Joe's does a 2 hour workout, for example. Some things I'll take you through, like some squats, maybe some a little bit of dumbbell work or something like that, and I'll take you clear through it. But that's just 10, 15 minutes. But in the technicals we do, you're going to continue to get the. We're going through and Joe, for example, say, put that out. That ain't showing nothing. No, that was awful. I look awful there, and I'll say, yep, let's put that out. Number one, it's a motivating factor for him, and number two, he's just 16 years old. We got a long way to go. Uh, But the number three, the biggest thing about that is we don't want to show anybody uh, exactly what we're doing, and and really we can't even offer out what we're doing because we've offered to help two people out and have just been literally ignored and declined. And the two people is what we have is our strength in everything we do. And I believe what these people are doing, they're going to half-ass trainers with their teams or whatever they do. And maybe they're looking and they're saying, oh, no, no, because there's a lot of ego in this sport. And people they won't want you looking at something that may be able to help you that did not come from them. And there's a lot of ways to be pulled down young fighters and young trainers because uh, number one, if a guy's smart, he ain't gonna give out everything he knows, and number two, a lot of people their ego is so big that when somebody comes along that has a different perspective or is on the outside looking in, and typically those on the outside looking in pick up everything that those who are on the inside looking in can't see. And it is so hard to get that through a thick skull as human beings that we are. So that's another part of the psychology. Be a little open, right? Be a little open. And uh, so, like I've said, there's a couple of people we've even tried to send things to. Uh, and the only thing I've ever asked is don't ever, by no means, you just promised me one thing. Don't go out here showing any video I send you to anyone else and or leak this stuff out because we try to keep it close to our vest. But you can't even teach a young dog new tricks today because the old dogs won't allow it. So, and nothing we do is a new trick to me because I'm old school all the way down the line. Things we do, you go into a boxing gym in 1968 and they're doing the same stuff. You go in the gym in 1978, they're doing the same stuff on up in through to the late 90s. Everybody's doing almost, mild differences there, different techniques, technicals and stuff, but everybody holistically on the whole point is about doing the same things from the 60s and through into the 70s at any rate. Not many monumental changes, and uh, uh, that's just one thing that saddens me so. Uh, so those are a few of the psychological things from a rambling old man. Try to take bits and pieces. I know I ramble. I know I go around the block, but try to take bits and pieces of what I'm saying. You got a wonderful internet now. You can go on and listen to, you can plug in something I've said and go in and listen to 20 different people, get 20 modifications of what I've said, and pick one that'll work for you. You'll find something that'll work for you, but you got to open that thing up. I'm pig-headed too. Uh, I don't. If somebody comes up to me with all this new stuff, I tell them go throw that crap in the garbage can. I don't want none of it. My reasoning behind that is I'm not seeing good fights today. I'm not seeing good amateurs. I'm not seeing good professionals. There's just flashes of greatness with some people in there. And they're just running as quick as they can to ruin themselves. And, you can't, you can point over there to the water, but you can't make the horse go over there and actually drink it. So, and it is just terribly frustrating in this sport as an old guy that I look right at somebody. I see exactly what they need to do. I see it perfectly because I'm on the outside looking inside the circle. And those inside, and I can't see inside my circle other than the perspective that I see from inside my circle. So I need to listen too. This ain't a judging thing or nothing. It's just a common sense thing. But I sit there and I look, and maybe I've seen the same thing out of a very similar guy in 1974 or 1978 or 1981. And I've seen these things with these very similar guys happen in these year time frames and what they've done to correct it, or if they didn't do nothing to correct it, and that was just the end of them. Uh, but I try to look at, well, what did You know, if I got fighter A, B, C, D, E, F, G, let's say seven, and five of them did this to correct it, and then you try to tell somebody this one of those same types of fighters today, and there's no reception to it. They're non-receptive to anything. They're in with a team. And I sit and I see fighters actually regressing. And of course, the trainers can't see that. Uh, us dads can't see that as fathers. We can't see that. Uh, we see, oh, well, he got a lot better. You know, the other guy just did this, this, and this. And really, with our boys, our guys, our fighters, maybe there's a regression going on. And you got to hit that head on. You get enough, then the only way you can get to work on it is to admit it. So it's a lot of psychology going on with this sport. I know I talk roundaboutly. I thank God that the few fighters that I've worked with over the past couple of years here is my communication skills have been waning. Is that they've got it and they've understood it. They've been able to understand me, and especially with Joe, he lives with me, so he understands me. Uh, so that's a big thing with me is my communication skills. I'm all over the place, but just want pull yourself off that pedestal. Look at yourself. If you've got a fighter on a pedestal, pull him or her down off of it and look at the big picture and see, is this work? Is this going to work? Right? If you're in the amateurs and you ain't knocking people out left and right, and that should be at minimum. You know, you have 10 fights, you need to have 8 knockouts. And if out of those 10, your last 10, you should have 8 knockouts. Really, 9 or 10. Because when you turn pro, you're going to be up there with people that they had that. And they're strong. And they're that much a little faster. Or that much a little stronger. And you ain't going to make it a dime. And these promoters see, that's all they do. These people that sign these kids on, that's all they're looking at. And if you see 4 or 5 people saying you need to increase speed, uh, you're not fast enough right now. You better be working on that. If you've heard 3, 4, 5 people saying, "Man, you got to build that strength," and you're not zeroing it in right on that, speed, strength, footwork, whatever it is, uh, style of fight, it could be a lot of things. But if you're not working on what the majority of the people that are willing to tell you to work on and telling you they see something upcoming that's going to be a problem, uh, and you're not willing to work on that, uh, you're not going nowhere. You will not be progressing. You will not be moving on. You may turn pro and you'll probably quit at the moment that you're 1 in 5 because you'll keep believing after 4 losses and 5 wins. We'll get it next time. There's a recoup. We can recoup this thing, and you won't be able to recoup it. You won't. You won't. You know, and that's a big thing. And it's a big thing in the amateurs. Uh, Trainers lying to the boys lying to themselves, the family members lying to their fighter, and you're not going to move on up. And trust me, I got the uh, first training papers that I had got back in 1980. You know, through my home state and through the country. I had been to Colorado before with the big whole body of trainers and the people that run Boxing USA. Now, this was back in the 80s as well. And I've seen a bunch of stupid in my life, and stupid is just multiplying and multiplying and multiplying, you know. And that I got out of boxing and came back to it, the bigger shell shock for me because I hadn't been sitting there being conditioned to the stupid, as we're going further down the ladder. Uh, it was here and then it got here. Then I come back and I'm like, what the hell happened to all this up here? What happened? So getting out and coming back's helped me, I believe, see a little bit more. So, and I say nothing from a high horse. Joe's got a million and one things to work on. Uh, got a plan. It's going to be uh, quite some time before I put him back in the ring. But Joe was so ferocious at 13 and 4 and going into 14 uh, that they didn't want him in amateur boxing. They don't want him there. So we've done some right things. We've done some right things. So uh, we try to look at that, but we got a long ways to go. We got a lot of things to work on, and we're working on a lot of things. It's just we don't show it. So uh, I put what little bit we put out now, some videos to help some people out here or there, some videos to just keep Joe's name out there, and that's about the extent of it. Uh, and I know when we get back to the U.S. and Joe starts whooping up on his fellow brethren there, and it's going to be no different than it was here. It's not. It's not going to really be any different. And uh, uh, hell, it'll probably be better. They'll whoop up on people more in the U.S. because the people are soft. So I don't know where all that's going, but this is my big blah 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 for today. And get yourself psychologically available to improve yourself. And I want to remind you that uh, Christ is our King, our Lord, and our Savior up in here. And we hope He is up in where you are too.